Chapter 620. She then saw a few girls roll their still wet towels into their mouthwash cups. Seeing that almost all of them were doing the same, she couldn't help but laugh. What's wrong? The towels will get germs if they're rolled up like that. Isn't there training tomorrow? Yi Qian's teaching saved us a lot of time. It's really useful. It's good that it's useful. It's just for one night, so it doesn't matter if there's germs. Just rinse it in the water. Yi Ying, you have to prepare for tomorrow's training. Yi Qian's teaching is really useful. Another girl smiled as she replied. She put down the cup with her towel and clapped her hands in satisfaction. Not bad. At least I won't have to look for a towel tomorrow morning. Now, no matter where she went, she would hear Yi Qian everywhere. Ying felt her ears prickle when she heard that and clenched her fists. She smiled and said, "That's a good idea. Is there anything else?" Her gaze was like a maggot attached to a bone. She had already looked around the large bunk room, but she still didn't see Yi Qian. She didn't look for him anymore. Her lips curled into a strange smile as she began to try out all the methods Yi Qian had taught her. Tonight, it was going to be peaceful. Who knew what would happen tomorrow? Before the horizon turned white, the tranquility of the anti-chemical regiment was broken by a sharp and urgent whistle. Yi Qian immediately got up from his bed when the whistle sounded. The first thing he did was to turn on the lights and wake up the students beside him. "Hurry up and get up. We have 5 minutes to gather." As he spoke, he had already started to spread out the blankets. When the girls on the left and right woke up, they saw Yi Qian folded into a square, flat, and angular tofu. When they looked at Yi Qian again, their eyes were full of admiration. "Oh my, Yi Qian, where did you learn this from? This works too. I'm learning on the spot. Keep up with your actions. Try to gather downstairs in 3 minutes." Yi Qian didn't take the initiative to help his classmates. It was just like some things where you didn't think you were helping others by extending a hand. Sometimes, it was just another way to attack others. He had good intentions but ended up doing bad things. Only after thinking about it carefully would he know whether he should take action or not. There were no strict requirements for folding the blankets. All they had to do was follow the steps. Thus, everyone casually folded the blankets and followed Yi Qian to wash up. When the boys and girls from the other classes ran over while buttoning their clothes, belts, and shoes, the girls of Year 2 Class 1 stood in a neat row, looking refreshed. As for the boys, they were probably stimulated by Yi Qian yesterday. When they chatted at night, Yi Qian also said a few words. Early in the morning, the class monitor, Lu Exen, took the lead. Every group leader was in charge, and they were also the first to arrive at the field. Commissar Yen had said that Yi Qian's unit was definitely a very cohesive unit. It was no exception in class. She used her own charisma to gather the strength of the entire class and twist it into a rope without saying too much or showing too much. Seeing that all the students of Year 2 Class 1 were neat and tidy, with no one late or procrastinating, the students from the other classes wanted to secretly compete with them but also felt a little apprehensive. With Yi Qian around, it was as if they had a stabilizing force. They couldn't be shaken. After gathering and reporting, the students of Year 2 Class 1 took the bright red flag from the instructor and headed deep into the mountains to begin the training of their willpower and physique. Chapter 621. Why am I so excited now? It's like I'm about to do something bad. And Jessen followed closely behind Yi Qian, her eyes glowing. I've been locked up here for 5 days. I can finally go out and get some fresh air. Yi Qian glanced at the excited girl and chuckled. Hurry up and be happy now. I don't know if you'll be able to smile later. Don't scare me. I haven't had breakfast yet. And Jessen's eyes immediately narrowed. She was a little nervous. I thought it sounded fun. Why am I so nervous now that you mention it? Breakfast was only available after a 5-kilometer walk. Yi Qian followed the group and said in a low voice, Don't be nervous. Don't you still have me? Follow me closely today. Don't run off alone. Ying was the last to come back last night. The two of us have to be careful today. She's a jerk. And Jessen gritted her teeth and glared at Ying's back. Her gaze shifted slightly and she said softly, Why don't we teach her a lesson? The class behind had already set off. Yi Qian pulled her along and quickened their pace. He smiled coldly. What's the hurry? She just suffered a loss yesterday. Even if there's a commotion, she won't do it herself. It's not like we don't know her. Don't be anxious. I'm just reminding you. She was the one who did it yesterday. It didn't seem like Yi Ying's intelligence to do it again today. Follow closely. Don't talk too much. Don't use the energy from walking on talking. As the instructor kept reminding the students in front of him, Yi Qian and Jiasin also shut up. Breakfast was only available after a 5-kilometer walk. The enthusiasm from before gradually faded. After walking for less than half the distance, some students started to slow down. Some started to complain that they were hungry. The separated students from each dormitory walked together again, encouraging each other as they walked. Those who couldn't walk would be helped. They couldn't let their classmates fall behind. Li Qian looked fat, but she was actually fat. If Yi Qian didn't help her walk, no one would be able to help her. The boys would also lend a hand, but Li Qian was shy. The moment the boys approached, his face would turn as red as a tomato. He refused to let the boys help him walk no matter what. He kept stopping along the way and didn't know if he could complete the 20 kilometers of training. 20 kilometers of field training was a challenge for the students, but it was also a challenge for the school and the army. Therefore, the army had always been prepared in advance. Every 5 kilometers of the 20 kilometers of mountain road, there would be a logistics station with the focus on preparing food and field supplies. The medical security work was also done very well. Medical personnel were arranged to follow him throughout the whole process. After 5 days of military training, the instructors had a better understanding of the students' physiques. They had already instructed the students with stronger physiques to take care of the students with weaker physiques. Walking 5 kilometers in the morning was within the acceptable range of the students. Seeing that their morale was gradually decreasing, Grade 2 Class 1 led the way. After rushing through the forest, they began to sing a military song. In an instant, Yi Qian felt that all the wild animals within a radius of 10 li, such as rabbits, would be scared away. It wasn't a flat mountain road. Instead, it was a mountain road that curved into the mountains. It wasn't a cement road, but a yellow dirt road. The people in front walked past, leaving behind a layer of yellow dust. As there were thousands of students in the mountains, they seemed to wake up especially quickly. After 5 kilometers, the back of the mountain was already bright. Chapter 622. Breakfast was steamed buns and soy milk. There was no picky choice at all. Get up, don't squat down, do you hear me? Walk around first and then sit down. Don't stand up too hard, or you'll faint. The instructor reminded the students in line before eating. Stand for a while, then slowly sit down and eat. Don't walk around. There are wild boars here. If you get 2 bloody holes from the wild boars, you'll be dead by the time you get sent down the mountain. With the instructor's reminder, Luo Ran said to the 2 boys, "Have you returned the bags? It's up to you guys later." Luo Ran, "That thing can't be found immediately. What did you hear? There are a lot of poisonous snakes nearby. If there were really poisonous snakes, we would have been scared away by so many of us." The other boy finished his soy milk in one breath and said, "Luo Ran, I don't think this is very reliable. Even if there are snakes, we might not be able to catch them." Hearing him say this, Luo Ran glared and said fiercely, "Damn it, why didn't you say it was not reliable last night? Don't mention it to me today. This thing must be done." "Brother Luo, first of all, there must be snakes. I really paid attention just now, there were none. I even found an excuse to go into the forest to pee, but I didn't see any." The other boy also said. He agreed last night and thought it would be a simple thing. Who knew it would be so difficult? Luo Feng was so angry that his face turned blue. He glared at the 3 of them and threw the plastic cup of soy milk on the ground. "Fine, let's not talk about this for the time being. You guys better pay more attention to the next thing. A bunch of trash. Not even 1 or 2 of them were needed. How could it be so easy to catch snakes?" The army had already considered this problem. It was not the students' turn to discover it. After the first 5 kilometers of rest and breakfast, it was the next 5 kilometers of field training. The first thing they encountered was air defense evacuation. Similarly, there was a fixed area. No students could go around the fixed area. Anyone who tried to go too far would immediately trigger the infrared alert. Before they could cross the boundary, soldiers would appear out of nowhere and pull them back. Damn, I was scared to death. They suddenly appeared with oil paint on their faces and leaves on their heads. I almost thought I met a mandrill. One of them didn't listen to the instructor's instructions and ran directly into the forest when the alarm sounded. In the end, he scared himself quite a bit. This mountain was an important military area. For this military training, the province and the army had put in a lot of effort. How could they allow the students to mess around? The emergency and evacuation plans were all set in advance, and the evacuation route was also scientifically designed. Although the evacuation was carried out in the mountains, the army's emergency handling ability had always been strong, and these thousands of students were all under their control. When Yao Jing saw a girl from her class being escorted back by a soldier in camouflage, she lost all confidence in the idea she came up with last night. Looking for a snake? Was it possible to find a snake in this situation? Not to mention her lack of confidence, Ying did not know how many times she had complained in her heart. There was a unified assembly point for the air defense unit, and the team leader would bring the students back. As for Yi Qian, because he had not participated in the military training before, he was added at the last minute, so he was not part of the team. Instead, he assisted the instructor in handling some matters. After a round of practice, she returned to the instructors. She was not with the instructors of each class, but with the instructors who were in charge of receiving the students. Chapter 623. After yesterday's incident, the instructors who were tasked with protecting the students all recognized Yi Qian. They chatted with this military-like student as if he was their comrade. There was no sense of distance between them. Come, let's have some extra food before they arrive. A soldier's voice came from behind. He did not notice that a student had mixed in with the instructors. He even walked to Yi Qian's side. Found something good. Want to try it? Found something good? Yi Qian turned around and saw a soldier in his 20s who had been secretly protecting them along the way. He was holding a non-venomous live snake in his hand as he walked over. The snake's entire body was coiled around his arm. Yi Qian estimated that it was about 1 meter long. The soldier was holding the snake's weak spot. The snake's mouth was wide open. It looked scary, but that was all there was to it. The instructors gave their comrades countless looks, reminding them that there was still a student around. But now, she was wearing the same training uniform as the soldiers. In the end, she did not even receive a single look. She was still sitting beside the student in high spirits. When they saw Yi Qian, the soldiers were stunned. When did we have a female soldier in our regiment? Even the clerks are all male. There can't be a female. Where did she come from? Yi Qian was too military. Even without epaulets or collar, no one would suspect that she was not a soldier. You talk too much. The instructor closest to him reminded him awkwardly. She's a student. Be careful. The soldier holding the snake also felt awkward. This snake looks like it can't be eaten. Just as he was about to release it, Yi Qian quickly grabbed the snake's weak spot. Rat-eating snake. Its meat is tender and non-venomous. It's really good stuff. She and Principal Chen had passed through the western province's jungle. They ate a lot of this type of snake. When Yi Ying was escorted by 2 soldiers, she saw a cold light flash in Yi Qian's hand. The light happened to be nailed to a piece of wood. Then she saw a long snake. Her heart tightened. Before she could react to what Yi Qian was doing, she took a military dagger from another instructor. The sharp dagger flashed in her palm. She straightened the snake's tail with one hand, and the hand holding the dagger slashed the snake's back. Seeing this scene, Ying suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. Yi Qian. Yi Qian caught a snake and was now skinning it alive, with her stomach. His stomach began to churn. Then, with a wah sound, he didn't even look for a place to vomit. Yi. With. Why did it not work every time? But this time, Yi Qian seemed to have won before the plan even started. Yi Jian glanced at her and did not look at her again. She cleaned up the snake and wrapped it up with a few leaves. Then she handed the snake meat to the instructors. That female student is probably frightened. Instructors, you'd better deal with her quickly. Her gaze was strange. After the shock, she did not look away quickly. Instead, she looked vexed. What was she vexed about? Was it because she had not finished something bad? Seeing her here safe and sound, she was vexed. Chapter 624. If that was really the case, Yi Qian wanted to tell Ying to do whatever she wanted. If something went wrong, no one would be able to bear the consequences. No matter how smart Yi Qian was, he would never have guessed that someone would come up with the worst idea and try to get a poisonous snake to bite him. When the boys came over, Yi Qian stood up and did not sit with the instructors. The first group to arrive was led by Yang Heng. When he saw Yi Qian standing in front of him, he was not surprised at all. I knew you would be the first. He did not even notice Yi Ying, who was resting beside him. He walked over to Yi Qian without looking sideways. Our group performed once and came back after confirming that we passed. This military training has a military feel to it. Yi Qian looked at Yang Heng, who had leaves in his hair, and smiled. Of course it has a military feel to it. Next up, there's a quick pass. How confident are you? The quick pass was also to train the students' agility and reaction speed. The year-end conscription was just around the corner. This military training had a record of the boys' physical fitness. If anyone wanted to enlist in the military in the future, this record would be sent to the recruitment office for reference. Many things could not be seen only once. The military training was not just for the students. It was also the beginning of the military's assessment of each student's basic condition. People like Luo Ran would never be able to enlist in the military. Like Yang Heng, there were definitely soldiers who were secretly watching him. I grew up in the transportation bureau. I've never been in the military. It's not a problem for me to direct traffic. If you ask me if I'm confident in the military's projects, I really don't know, he said with a smile. He did not look tired at all. It was clear that his physical fitness was quite good. Yi Ying, who had vomited until her eyes were filled with tears, finally managed to catch her breath under the care of the medics. She saw Yang Heng and Yi Qian talking and laughing. She could tell at a glance that their relationship was quite good. This discovery caused her to be stunned for a moment. Very quickly, an extremely bright cold light flashed past her eyes. This time, she could completely stop. He left the task of dealing with Yi Qian to Yao Jing. Before she could finish her calculations, Yang Heng stood beside her, acting as if he didn't know Yi Qian at all. It was as if the laughter just now was just an illusion. Yang Heng only found out that Yi Qian was there after being reminded. Now, even if he knew Yi Qian, he had to pretend not to know him. He didn't want Yao Jing to make things difficult for Yi Qian because of him. With both of them like this, Ying couldn't make up her mind. In between, Luo Ran found Yao Jing, but he did not find Yi Qian. By the time he arrived at the assembly point, he was already exhausted. He vaguely heard from his classmates that Yi Qian did not participate in the air defense evacuation this time. Luo Ran's face was so green that it was as if he was about to pass out. He had been looking for an opportunity to make his move, but she had not participated. An hour later, they entered the rapid pass through the danger zone training. The speed of passing through was much slower. In fact, it was very simple. It was just some fallen leaves and some steel nets that needed to be drilled through. To Yi Qian, this was like child's play. After taking a look, Yi Qian did not immediately pass through. Instead, she let her classmates pass through one by one. Sophomore class 1 was a group. She couldn't just leave the class alone and walk first. Chapter 625. The few girls in the class walked in front, while the boys sat at the back, whispering to each other as they quickly climbed or drilled through the fallen tree trunks one by one. Why are you all squeezing together? Are you trying to snowball? The instructor of class 1 saw that the boys were not coming towards him and Yi Qian, but were instead drilling towards the harder areas. He couldn't help but shout. Yi Qian looked over and saw that 2 boys had already drilled through the trees. There were still 3 boys who weren't from his class. How could there be students from other classes rushing into class 1? The other 2 probably weren't from their class either. She counted the number of people on her side and found that it was just right. They're from other classes. Instructor, should we contact the other instructors? After the students in the class passed through one by one, Yiqian pursed his lips and reminded the instructor, "Don't think that you've embarrassed your class." The instructor was a veteran and was also the class monitor of a class. He had already taught these disobedient students a lesson in the army. Hearing what Yi Jian said, he said to Yi Jian, "Okay, you follow behind. I'll contact my comrades." Not long after, another instructor's voice came from the soldiers' walkie-talkie. 3 students from grade 12 class 6 and 2 students from grade 12 class 5. A total of 5 people are missing. I happen to have 5 people here. I'll go and confirm their identities now. When the instructor heard this, he could basically confirm that the disobedient students were from the 2 classes of grade 12. When he saw that Yi Qian had already caught up with the students in his class, he contacted his comrades who were secretly protecting the students and had them go forward to confirm the identities of the 5 students. There was a total distance of more than 3,000 meters. According to the planned route, it would take about 45 minutes to pass through. It was all because this was the last event of the field training. The students' physical strength was severely depleted, so their speed was very slow. The soldiers who were secretly protecting the students quickly confirmed that the 5 boys had sneaked into grade 12 class 1. Only then did the instructor let out a sigh of relief. He could only let them continue walking in class 1 in case they got lost. Gradually, the distance between the students increased. When Yi Qian saw the boys who weren't from his class, he walked past several students and walked together with Jiasin. "Walk faster. Don't fall behind. Luo Ran might be coming." And Jiasin, who was so tired that she was gasping for breath, suddenly wanted to curse. Unfortunately, she didn't have the strength. In the end, she cursed weakly, "They're not human. They're not students. They're clearly hooligans. What are you cursing for? Save your energy." Yi Jian was not worried about herself. She was worried about Jiasin. She almost carried Jiasin to catch up with her classmates who were lagging behind. Unfortunately, Jiasin. She waved her hand and told Yi Qian to leave her alone. Yi Jian's eyes darkened as he listened to the soft sounds coming from the top of the hill. "Sit here and rest. They should be walking in front. I'll get the instructor to stop them first." Since they wanted to deal with her, she would give them a chance. "The instructor will be here soon. You rest for a while. I'll leave first." Yi Qian intentionally raised his voice so that Luo Ran and the others could hear him. Then he walked forward alone. He didn't take the path that his classmates were taking. Instead, he took a more difficult path that only Lu Xian and the other boys were willing to take. It was also the difficult, fast path that Luo Ran and the others were currently taking. Chapter 626. It wasn't hard to deal with Luo Ran, but Yi Qian didn't want to cause any trouble in the military. She also didn't want her personal matters to affect the entire class's evaluation during the military training. She had already avoided them, but Luo Ran and the others just had to bump into her. Yi Qian's eyes darkened. Naturally, she didn't choose a random place to deal with them. She didn't need to avoid the infrared and surveillance cameras. First, she had to choose a location that was advantageous to her to deal with Luo Ran. She also needed to use the surveillance cameras to prove that she wasn't dealing with Luo Ran, but saving them. It had to be said that the military and the provincial government had put in a lot of effort to arrange this military training. The 20 kilometers field training wasn't a single path to the end, but a detour. The final meeting point was still the anti-chemical regiment's shooting range. The entire itinerary was arranged in a scientific and strict manner. None of the students were allowed to walk an extra kilometer. The 3000 highway was a combination of a straight Y and a reverse Y. Most of the students took the simplest highway. There were only a few students in each class that actually took the route Yi Qian was taking. Yi Qian didn't walk straight from the starting point. When she walked up, she began to look for a suitable place to strike. When Luo Ran saw Yi Qian walking up alone, he was overjoyed. He waved at the boys beside him, picked up the sticks they had prepared beforehand, and chased after Yi Qian, who seemed to have lost her way and was walking slower and slower. Yi Qian counted silently in her heart. She couldn't hear the footsteps of Lu Xian and the others in front of her, nor could she hear the footsteps of the other students behind her. She stopped completely, as if she was thinking about where she should go. This place wasn't bad. There were surveillance cameras, camouflaged soldiers, and at the same time, obstacles. The single log bridge and the protective net made it easy to clean up. If they fell into the net, they wouldn't be able to climb out. She could accidentally step on them and then climb back onto the single log bridge. Year 2 Class 1 was the first to pass the highway course, and Yi Qian was the first to pass the single log bridge course. The disguised soldiers on both sides stared at Yi Qian. As she walked down the single plank bridge step by step, they were ready to rescue her at any time. Then, they saw 5 boys with wooden sticks in their hands rush up to her. The 20-kilometer field training had already covered 12 kilometers. After passing through the 3,000-meter express tunnel, it would be 3 kilometers. If they took the shortcut back to the shooting range, it would be exactly 20 kilometers. After walking for 12 kilometers, Luo Ran and the other 4 boys were actually quite tired. Originally, when they saw Yi Qian stop, they wanted to take a breather and recover some energy so that they could deal with her. Who knew? She would actually stop for a minute and continue walking. Yi Qian, let's see where you can run off to today. How could Luo Ran hold back? He picked up the wooden stick and was the first to rush out. His eyes were filled with ferocity as he stared at her back. At the same time, he raised the wooden stick in his hand and swung it at Yi Qian's head. He was only 17 or 18 years old, but the things he did were so vicious that it could take someone's life. He wasn't any younger than a gangster who had been in society for a few years. On the contrary, he was even worse than them. The wooden stick swung like a gust of wind, bringing with it a huge force. When the other boys saw Luo Ran swinging the wooden stick at the back of the girl's head, they were so frightened that they immediately threw the wooden stick in their hands to the side. 1 or 2 of them were so frightened that they took a few steps back. *CK. This. Luo Ran wasn't dealing with someone, he was trying to kill someone. Chapter 627. They could fight, catch a snake to scare a girl, or anything else, but they wouldn't do anything that would take someone's life. The soldiers, who had camouflaged themselves so well that they seemed to be one with the trees in the forest, saw this, and their expressions changed drastically. A soldier with a leaf on his head stood up and shouted at Yi Qian, "Get down, get out of the way. Get down, get out of the way." Of course, Yi Qian could do it, but she didn't want to. Otherwise, how could she teach Luo Ran a lesson in broad daylight? Yi Qian, who was already standing on the single-plank bridge, seemed to have eyes on the back of her head. She made her move when the soldier shouted, "Get down, get out of the way." She quickly moved to the side and grabbed the wooden stick in Luo Ran's hand. She took 2 steps towards the single-plank bridge and used her strength to pull Luo Ran closer to her. Luo Ran, who was also holding onto the other end of the wooden stick, was suddenly pulled by Yi Qian. He was unsteady on his feet and was pulled several steps forward by Yi Qian. One of his feet was on the single-plank bridge, while the other was still on the ground. Where else can I run to? Isn't this a training exercise? Of course I'm running to the assembly point. Yi Qian, who had grabbed onto the wooden stick, skillfully avoided looking at Luo Ran. She said in a voice as soft as the morning breeze, "Student Luo Ran, be careful. Don't let go of the stick." Her smile was even fainter than the wind, but the coldness between her brows was like the edge of an autumn water sword. It was sharp and piercing. When she approached Luo Ran, her eyes were filled with hostility. "I'm not running anywhere today. I'm just here to play with you." When Luo Ran heard this, his naturally ferocious facial features became ferocious. He roared even louder, "I'm going to kill you today." "Sure, I'll be waiting." Yi Jianwan smiled. There was a flash of light in her starry eyes. Although she was smiling slightly, she twisted her hand that was holding the wooden stick. Luo Ran's entire arm was twisted by her, and even the texture of his arm was deformed. Luo Ran was caught off guard and let out a scream. Luo Ran's scream also surprised the soldiers who rushed out to rescue him. They didn't believe that this girl didn't have any skills. An expert's skills could be seen when they made a move. Her move was fast and steady. It was obvious that she had some skills. Luo Ran, who originally wanted to beat Yi Jian until she begged for mercy, did not expect that he would be the one to suffer the pain in the end. His whole arm felt like it was going to be broken. He screamed as the stick fell out of his hand. His ferocious face was twisted in pain. He's only just started and he's already screaming. I thought he was strong, but it looks like he's just an embroidered pillow. Yi Qian's lips curled up slightly. Her dark eyes flashed with a cold light. Before the soldiers could reach the protective net, Yi Qian completed a series of actions. She threw Luo Ran, who was in so much pain that his facial features were twisted, into the protective net. Luo Ran didn't know that his attack didn't hit Yi Qian. Instead, it caused him to suddenly fall down. Before he could finish his scream, he fell down in the next second, causing him to scream in fear. By the time he landed on the protective net, his back was already covered in a layer of cold sweat. Just now, he was so focused on teaching Yi Qian a lesson that he didn't see clearly what was under his feet. When he was thrown out, he was completely stunned. At this moment, he didn't even have time to react. He watched as a black shadow fell from the sky and smashed towards him. The ferocity on his face disappeared, and Luo Ran was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He had always been ruthless when it came to teaching others a lesson, but he couldn't let himself be hurt. When he saw the black shadow fall, he naturally wanted to avoid it. Chapter 628. Luo Ran was so flustered that he only managed to roll half a circle on the net before Yi Qian hit him in the back with the stick. The soldiers who had already rushed to the bottom of the net heard the boy scream again. Since she wanted to teach him a lesson, how could Yi Qian let him run away? Yi Qian, who had fallen with the stick in her hand, didn't show any mercy. She raised the stick in her hand and hit Luo Ran's waist as she fell. She still avoided his back and head. After all, they were in military training. If she really made Luo Ran half paralyzed, the school and the army would be in deep trouble. Two soldiers were already standing on top of the net and looking at the two students who had fallen. They weren't concerned about the boy who fell first, but the girl who was being threatened by the boy. "How are you?" "Relax. Get up first." They had heard every word that the boy had just said. Naturally, their priority now was to save the girl. Yi Qian, who was still holding the stick in her hand, answered quickly, I'm fine. I think the stick in my hand hit his waist when I fell. I'll go check if he's hurt." The soldiers wouldn't let Yi Qian check. That boy had tried to kill her. Seeing that she was about to stand up and walk over, they quickly stopped her. "Don't go over. Get down first." Yi Qian, who had stood up, swayed, and accidentally fell on the net again. Her body fell towards Luo Ran. "Stay away from him." She fell towards Luo Ran. She was worried about the soldiers, so she said, "Don't move. Roll twice on the spot. Stay away from him." He had come over to annoy Luo Ran, so how could he immediately roll away? When she fell, Yi Qian said softly to Luo Ran, who was still in a daze, "I'm so sorry. I failed again. It's the second time. Brother Luo, I'm so sorry." Luo Ran was in so much pain that he felt like his bones were broken. He didn't have time to care about Yi Qian. When he heard Yi Qian's words, he immediately understood that she did it on purpose. As a man, he was bullied by a woman to such an extent. How could he still survive? "You did it on purpose. F***ck, if I don't kill you this time, my surname isn't Luo." After suffering 2 losses in a row, Luo Ran only felt that he had lost all his face. When he thought that the other 4 men might be watching, the fire in his heart burned until his eyes turned red. His mouth spat out ruthless words endlessly. He was so arrogant that he really didn't put the entire army in his eyes. Luo Ran, who was in so much pain that he couldn't get up, was now like a crazy wild dog. When he saw Yi Qian at his feet, he didn't stand up, so he directly rubbed his legs against Yi Qian. "I'm going to kill you, damn it. If worst comes to worst, I'll just spend more money. F***ck, you dare to oppose me? Killing you is as easy as killing an ant." The smile in Yi Qian's eyes deepened. "Then give it a try and see if it's simple or not." She forced Luo Ran to be even angrier. She wanted all the soldiers to testify that everything had nothing to do with her, Yi Qian. Under her provocation, Luo Ran's ruthless words angered the soldiers. How could he be so arrogant? He wasn't a student, he was a lawless hooligan. He relied on his family's wealth and always believed that there was nothing in the world that money couldn't solve. Seeing that the boy was kicking the girl with both legs, the soldiers below shouted, "Cut the net! Cut the net!" Chapter 629. His voice traveled to the top of the bridge, scaring the other 4 boys who hadn't taken the bridge yet. What was going on? Luo Ran was scared just now, but why did he sound so angry now? In front of a group of soldiers, he said he was going to kill Yi Qian. The 4 of them looked at each other and said anxiously, "Quick, let's go take a look." In the midst of the chaos, someone said they would go take a look, and they all ran towards the single log bridge. A soldier in disguise walked out from behind a tree and blocked their way. He pointed at a single log bridge and said, "The 4 of you cross from here." The 4 boys, who were already panicking, broke out in a cold sweat when they saw the soldier suddenly appear. They stammered, "Instructor, how are they?" "Mind your own business." The soldier didn't tell them what was going on below. He stood in front of them and used his body to block the boys' view. He said sternly, "Cross the bridge quickly, one by one. Keep a distance of half a meter." After being urged by the soldier, the 4 of them, who were already feeling guilty, didn't dare to look anymore. They pushed each other and hurried to cross the bridge. When they walked to another single-plank bridge and looked down, they saw a large net about a meter away from the single-plank bridge. The net was covered with dead leaves. It turned out that there was a protective net below. Even if they fell, they would be fine. Wiping away his cold sweat, one of the boys took the lead to cross the single-log bridge. He subconsciously looked to his left and saw Luo Ran kicking Yi Qian like a madman. That ferocity was really... Even the boys were scared out of their wits. But it was fine as long as Luo Ran was fine. The boy turned his head and whispered to the students behind him who were preparing to cross the bridge, "Brother Luo is fine. Let's go over and help him first." Luo Ran screamed when she fell into the net. Brother Luo was really scared this time. The girl didn't even make a sound when she fell. Fortunately, the 4 of them didn't rush up like Luo Ran. Otherwise, Yi Qian would have taken care of them together. How could Yi Qian let him kick her? She still had the baton in her hands. With the first kick, Yi Jianjian secretly smashed Luo Ran's calf with a stick. She was confident that the soldiers below wouldn't be able to see through the close-range combat while secretly taking care of Luo Ran. In the eyes of the soldiers, it was clearly the boy who kicked the girl to the ground, but the one who screamed was the boy. How could Luo Ran not shout? He was in pain. Her small feet were in pain from being hit by the stick. How could she still kick Yi Qian in an orderly manner? She was purely in so much pain that she was kicking randomly. "You call this making life difficult for me? You want to teach me a lesson? Luo Ran, even if I crippled you now, nothing would happen to you." He called out again and again, but Yi Qian spoke calmly. His voice was not loud enough for the soldiers below to hear, but it was loud enough for Luo Ran to hear clearly. The more she said this, the angrier Luo Ran became. But he didn't dare to kick anymore. His legs were in so much pain that he couldn't exert any strength. The protective net on the tree was cut. Luo Ran, who didn't grab the net, was the first to fall. Yi Qian grabbed the net with one hand and didn't let herself fall. F***CKU. Yi Qian, get over here. You stinking soldiers, I have plenty of money at home. Kill her for me. I'll give you money, give you money. The F***CK, it hurts so much. Ambulance, I want an ambulance. The words coming out of his mouth were getting more and more nonsensical. When the 2 soldiers who caught him heard him, they wished they could throw him out immediately. Chapter 630. A squad leader who was squatting with his soldiers walked out. When he heard Luo Ran's arrogant words, he glanced at him coldly and said to his soldiers, "Put him aside." Ambulance. He should be thankful that his mouth wasn't stuffed with mud. When the soldiers heard this, they threw aside the boy who was clamoring and wanted to throw money at them. Stinky soldier? This was already insulting a soldier. Luo Ran, who wanted to use money to solve the problem, roared with a ferocious face. Damn it, you think the money is too little? Name me a price. I don't lack money, kill her. When Yi Qian, who was still hanging from the protective net, heard this, his eyes suddenly flashed with anger. Their matter was a private matter, yet he dared to insult the soldiers. After that, Yi Qian said, "Thank you," to the two soldiers and walked towards Luo Ran with a gloomy face. Luo Ran, don't drag the soldiers into this. I'm standing right here. If you have the ability, come and fight me. In Yi Qian's eyes, no matter which unit the soldiers were in, they were all comrades. Luo Ran insulting them was even more unacceptable than insulting himself. When the soldiers saw the quiet female soldier rush out to protect them, they felt a rush of warmth in their hearts. They quickly pulled her back. Don't take him seriously. There are plenty of people in society who can teach him a lesson. Fine, I'll teach you a lesson now. Luo Ran was still sitting, but when he heard this, he stood up abruptly. However, he forgot that his feet were bruised by Yi Qian. He sucked in a breath of cold air and endured the pain. His eyes were as fierce as the eyes of a crocodile. Don't run if you have the guts. When the two soldiers saw this, they grabbed Luo Ran's hands and said loudly, "Behave yourself. How dare you hit people in the military? You must be tired of living." A soldier is hitting a student. A soldier is hitting a student. During military training, Luo Ran had provoked the soldiers' authority countless times. He relied on the fact that instructors couldn't hit or scold students, so he was particularly presumptuous. Now that he was being held by two soldiers, he simply shouted at the top of his lungs, "Help! Help! A stinky soldier is hitting a student. Someone come quickly." The stinky soldier hit a student. When Yi Qian heard this, he laughed instead of getting angry. Luo Ran, do you think the army is a black market? In front of these soldiers who were prepared for the country and the people, he kept asking them to pay, and even said that they were stinky soldiers. What kind of family could produce such an insufferably arrogant fellow? Of course we stink as soldiers. How can we not stink when we're covered in sweat every day? You, on the other hand, not only do you have a foul mouth, even your heart is foul. The class leader quietly shielded Yi Qian behind her. She stared coldly at the boy and said in a deep voice, "You should think about how you're going to explain this to the school. Using money to hire killers? Boy, we're all listening." Yi Qian said in a low voice, "Class rep, he's coming for me. If you let him go and the students hear about it, they might really think that you hit him." One had to know that his legs were definitely covered in bruises right now. He couldn't let the soldiers take the blame for him. "It's fine, you go first. Leave this to us." The class leader turned her head and looked at the girl who stood up for the soldiers. She had a smile on her tanned face. "He said that we hit him, but he needs to have evidence." It was because he had evidence that Yi Qian couldn't let the soldiers hit him. She looked coldly at Luo Ran and heard the class leader ask her, "How are you? Are you in extreme pain anywhere? If you're not feeling well, I'll order the soldiers to carry you to the evacuation vehicle on a stretcher. The medical staff in the vehicle can give you a checkup." Chapter 631. After all, Yi Qian was trained to be a special forces soldier, so even the class leader didn't notice her sneak attack. She shook her head and said, "I didn't really kick him. He looks fierce, but he's not that bad." She pointed at Luo Ran, "Class leader, let him go. I also want to see how strong he really is." She didn't even need to try. She could tell that he didn't have any skills. Money makes the world go round. Luo Ran's so-called arrogance was built on the foundation of money. He used money to bribe others to stand up for him and make himself look awe-inspiring. "We won't take care of him. Someone will take care of him when he's outside." The class leader glanced at the boy who thought he was great. She sneered and said, "This kind of person deserves a beating no matter where he goes. He's not worth our time." However, this girl was right. If an unsuspecting student heard him shouting like this, they would really think that their comrades hit him. She raised her hand and signaled her comrades to let him go. There was no need to argue with this kind of person. When the two soldiers saw their squad leader's signal, They released their grip and lightly pushed Luo Ran forward. Luo Ran's head was pushed down, and he staggered a few steps before he fell to the ground. He fell right in front of the class leader's feet. His forehead even hit the tip of the class leader's canvas shoes. Every time he opened his mouth, he either cursed or humiliated people. If they weren't in the military, he would have covered his head with his clothes and punched him until he cried for his parents. In the outside world, as long as Luo Ran said he was willing to pay, people would line up to fight for him. It had been like this since he was young. He had never suffered in front of anyone, and no one would refuse him in front of money. Luo Ran, who fell and got hit in the chest by a rock, was furious. His facial features were as fierce as a murderer's. He grabbed a fist-sized rock and threw it at the class leader's feet without thinking. There was no way he could succeed with his skills. The class leader took a step back and easily dodged it. A cold light flashed in her bright eyes. She looked at the boy who attacked an active-duty soldier and said indifferently, "Send him to the teacher," then cut down all the nearby surveillance videos and hand them to the school. This is the first time I've seen a student who publicly insults and attacks an active-duty soldier. Luo Ran lost his rationality after failing again and again. He was used to being arrogant and was used to being flattered by others. Now that he hit a wall again, he was furious and cursed, "You poor soldier, stop putting on airs in front of me. You think you're so great, but in my eyes, you're just a blade of grass." "So what? You think I'm afraid of them? I'm not even afraid of the principal." Yi Jian's hands gradually clenched into fists when she heard him. She took 2 steps forward and said in a cold voice, "Luo Ran, stand up now. Let's have a good fight." Luo Ran was speechless. His eyes were bloodshot. The class leader was stunned when he heard this, because he realized this girl was really going to start a fight with the boy. "What are you doing?" The more you pay attention to him, the more he gets motivated. The class leader didn't want the 2 students to start a fight in front of her, so she said to her comrades, "What are you waiting for? Take him away." The 2 soldiers heard this and saluted their class leader. They responded with a yes, and walked in front of Luo Ran with cold eyes. Chapter 632. The class leader blocked Yi Qian again. "Hurry up and gather, it's almost time to eat. Hurry up and gather." She then whispered, "I can't control you guys outside, but this is the military. If you guys really fight, then his fault will become the fault of both of you. I don't see any injuries on you. Hurry up and leave, we know what to do." Luo Ran really wanted to fight with Yi Qian. Both times, it was Yi Qian who brought it up, but he was stopped by the soldiers. Now that he saw the 2 soldiers walking towards him with unfriendly gazes, he didn't stand up and step back. "What are you doing? What are you doing? You want to hit me? I'm warning you, if you dare to hit me, I'll sue you. If you dare to touch me, I won't King let you guys off." "Touch you? Don't dirty our hands." One of the soldiers looked at him coldly. He grabbed Luo Ran's shoulder with one hand and clamped down on his arm with the other. The 2 of them lifted Luo Ran up. The boy with the sharp and arrogant eyes sneered, "Dealing with you is your parents' business, it has nothing to do with us." They really couldn't hit or scold students. Even if Luo Ran cursed fiercely, the soldiers could only endure it. Yi Qian glanced at him and said to the class leader, "Okay, we'll deal with it outside. But class leader, can I go over and say a few words to him? I promise I won't hit him." It was fine to say a few words. Besides, the boy was being held down, so there was no need to worry about him hurting the girl. She nodded and said seriously, "Okay, I'll give you 1 minute. After you say it, we'll immediately take him away." In less than a minute, Yi Qian walked in front of Luo Ran. She looked at Luo Ran quietly with bloodshot eyes. "I'll give you a chance to take revenge. Next Sunday night, I'll get off the bus at the intersection in front of the school. If you have the guts, bring your men over." He wasn't even afraid of the principal? How could he survive in the school if he brought a crowd to beat up a student? No matter how rich their family was, since this matter had already been stirred up, the bigger the better. After she finished speaking, the soldiers didn't give Luo Ran a chance to reply and forcefully took him away. This caused Luo Ran to scold the soldiers one moment and Yi Qian the next. They could be heard from several meters away. Just then, The students of grade 12 class 6 passed through. Yao Jing heard Luo Ran's voice coming from the top of the mountain. She listened carefully and heard him say, "Yichen, just you King wait. Wait for me next Friday." Hearing this, Yao Jing's face darkened. Useless thing. Not only did he fail to teach Yi Qian a lesson, he even got himself implicated. The field training was about to end, but they hadn't found a single opportunity. "Yao Jing, hurry up. Our classmates are rushing us." She stood still, and the girl behind her urged her, "Hurry up and rest. I'm exhausted." The shouting gradually faded away. Yao Jing took a deep breath and continued forward. At such a good time, one or two people were so stupid that they forgot to bring their brains with them. When Yi Qian returned to school, she might as well hire someone to climb over the wall at night and beat her up secretly. Grade 12 class 3 passed through the long line of students. It was already past 11 in the morning when all the students passed through the 3-kilometer express lane. After they passed through, a delicious lunch was waiting for them. Every class meals were delivered to the mountain on time. As grade 12 class 1 students were the first to arrive, they happened to see the soldiers carrying large stainless steel buckets filled with rice and vegetables. The logistics were impeccable. Chapter 633. When Yi Qian rushed back, her classmates were all sitting in the resting area, waiting for dinner. And Jiasin, who had been anxiously waiting for Yi Qian's return, was now asking around if anyone had seen Yi Qian. At that time, she was so tired that she didn't even have the strength to stand up. In a daze, she heard Yi Qian say that she would be back soon. In the end, she waited until now and didn't see her return, so she couldn't help but feel anxious. When the instructor of class 1 heard that Yi Qian didn't return, he couldn't believe it. "How is that possible? She left before me. She should be resting somewhere. Let's go, I'll go look for her with you." "I've already looked for her and asked many classmates. It's really her. Yi Qian really didn't come back. If it weren't for that bastard Luo Ran, she wouldn't be so worried." And Jiasin was so anxious that she was on the verge of tears. Even her voice changed. "Instructor, quickly send someone to look for her. She really didn't come back." She couldn't say that Yi Qian went to look for Luo Ran. What if she said too much and caused unnecessary trouble? Wouldn't that be bad? The instructor didn't panic. He comforted her. "Go rest. I'll go look for her. I'll go look for her." It was impossible for her to go missing. There were scouts all the way, and the regiment even sent out 12 classes to protect her. If anything really happened, he would definitely know. And Jiasin, whose eyes were red from anxiety, couldn't sit still and rest. She didn't see Yi Ying immediately lower her eyes when she heard that Yi Qian didn't come back. Her eyes were filled with deep amusement. Did that mean that Luo Ran had succeeded? Why did the good news come so suddenly? She couldn't believe it. The scene of Yi Qian stripping the snake flashed through her mind. Yi Ying's smile froze. She suddenly felt that she really couldn't believe that Luo Ran and a few boys would succeed. It would be more believable if he found a few hooligans to do it. Yi Ying, who had lost her appetite after smelling the food, had all sorts of thoughts. Of course, she wanted to see Yi Qian get beaten up by Luo Ran, but she also felt that it was unlikely. So when Yi Qian walked over and Jiasin, who had said that she had no strength at all, suddenly stood up. Seeing Yi Qian in perfect condition, her eyes were filled with deep disappointment. "Luo Ran, this trash actually didn't succeed again. Do you want to throw up again?" The girl sitting beside her saw that Yi Ying's face was even worse than before and thought that she was feeling unwell again. She quickly picked up her water bottle and stood up. "I'll help you to the side. You can't vomit here." Realizing that she had overreacted, Ying quickly withdrew her gaze and smiled at the girl. Nothing. My legs are a little numb from sitting, so I want to stand up and walk around." He didn't succeed again, damn it. Just how was he going to deal with that damned girl? "You scared me to death. You scared me to death." And Jiasin was crying and laughing at the same time. When she saw Yi Qian standing beside her safe and sound, she felt as if a heavy stone had been lifted from her heart. She immediately felt her legs giving way. "Quick, give me a hand. I'm too weak, too weak. Seeing that his friend was concerned about him, Yiqian hid the hostility between his brows and his expression softened. I'm fine. If something really happened, it wouldn't be me. Let's go and rest for a while. I can smell the aroma of food. Dinner should be served soon. I'm sweating all over, and now I'm sweating all over. My appetite will probably be comparable to a guy's. Once Yiqian returned, and Jiasun felt as if nothing had happened. She didn't ask anything. In her eyes, she only knew that her friend had returned safely. Nothing else mattered. Chapter 634. To Yiqian, it was her fortune to have a friend like Jiasun who never asked her why and only cared about her safety. Soon, Yao Jing also saw Yiqian. As she walked over with her classmates, she only glanced at Yiqian from the corner of her eyes. Luo Ran wasn't here, but Yiqian was. Something must have happened to Luo Ran. Thinking of this possibility, Yao Jing forced herself to take a deep breath to calm her anger. Asking Luo Ran to deal with Yiqian? It was indeed unreliable. If Yang Heng were to do it, she wouldn't have to worry about failure. Yao Jing couldn't help but recall what she saw last night. She felt the anger that she tried so hard to suppress surging uncontrollably. She glanced coldly at Yiqian again. He was so difficult to deal with. It seemed that Luo Ran alone wouldn't be enough. She had to think of another way. Two malicious gazes fell on him. Even if it was just from the corner of her eyes, Yiqian was sensitive enough to sense it. When he caught sight of it a second time, he immediately looked up. Yiqian, who was about to drink from his water bottle, looked at Yao Jing. His lips slowly curved upwards as he waved the water bottle at her, as if he was provoking her. It made Yao Jing feel even more contemptuous. Gritting her teeth, Yao Jing returned a bright smile. Her heartstrings were stretched taut. Last night she was almost discovered by her. Now, she just happened to catch sight of her from the corner of her eyes. This meant that she must have seen her last night. Thinking of this, Yao Jing's heart skipped a beat. Yiqian wasn't easy to deal with. It was impossible to get Luo Ran to deal with him alone. Let's eat, let's eat. Everyone in Grade 2 Class 1 is here. It was lunchtime. Grade 2 Class 1, which had everyone present, was the first to start eating. The students who were too tired to stand up gritted their teeth and stood up even if they didn't have the energy. Lao Lian's lunch was even more sumptuous. There were pork ribs, braised fish, and beef. They were all high-calorie and high-protein dishes. The soup was kelp and pork bone soup. It was cooked to a creamy white. Just looking at it made one's mouth water. As the first batch of high school students in the province to participate in military training, although it was very tiring, they did not lose out in terms of food. The sun was already shining above their heads. After the second and third year students of Provincial 1st High School and 16th High School had finished their meal, they rested in the forest that was a restricted military zone. They had an hour to rest. At this moment, even the naughtiest boys would sit down, tilt their heads, and fall asleep in the shade of the trees. The terrain of the resting forest was relatively flat. The weeds and shrubs on the ground had been completely removed. All the sensors could see all the students 360 degrees without any blind spots. The infrared sensors on the periphery were densely packed. Anyone who crossed the line would be alerted immediately. The instructors took turns to rest, keeping watch with their comrades who were secretly protecting them and paying attention to the movements of the students. There was a student who showed a pained expression when he fell asleep. Immediately, a medic trotted over to check on the student's body. Time ticked by. When the accompanying platoon leader saw the 5 students on the receiving vehicle, he picked up the walkie-talkie and connected it to the individual walkie-talkies of all the instructors. In the afternoon, the leaders of the provincial military region will come to inspect the shooting range. Please get ready. Class 1 got it. Class 2 got it. In the stiff and crisp replies, all the instructors finished answering at once. Sitting in the hall of the provincial military region, the regiment commander of the anti-chemical regiment was having a serious meeting. The person who presided over the meeting was quite a high-ranking officer. The gold stars on his epaulette flashed so brightly that he, as the regiment commander, did not dare to be distracted. This was the leader of the General Military Region. Chapter 635. The regiment commander of the anti-chemical regiment had rushed to the provincial military region at the last minute. If the chief from the capital had not mentioned military training, he would not be sitting next to these chiefs who had higher military ranks and occupations than him. The students are the hope of the country. They are our successors. They are the future of the country. Military training must be passed down from generation to generation. It must become the spirit of our country. Commander-in-Chief Xia, who was sitting on the main podium, said word by word calmly, full of the military prestige that made people admire him. Regiment Commander Lu wrote down the key points of the meeting and asked the regiment commander sitting next to him, "Old Gua, are the students of the Provincial No. 1 Middle School in your regiment?" "The Provincial No. 1 Middle School and No. 16 Middle School are in my regiment." "But are you also assigned to your regiment?" They were all from the same province and would meet each other during the provincial military region meetings. Therefore, they all knew each other. Regiment Commander Gua glanced at Regiment Commander Lu's notes and could not help but laugh. "Your handwriting has improved a lot." Hearing this, Regiment Commander Lu closed his notebook and stared at him. "Your handwriting is not much different from mine. Don't change the topic. Let me ask you something." Old Gua had regained some confidence after seeing his handwriting. Regiment Commander Lu simply took the notebook in his hand. "There is a girl named Yi Qian in the Provincial No. 1 Middle School. How is it? Are you pleasantly surprised?" It was as if he was the baby of his family, unable to resist the urge to show off. Even the expression on his face was filled with a sense of pride, as if he was honored. Regiment Commander Gua, who had wanted to make fun of him for a while, heard this. "Hey, good guy." The person that his political commissar was jealous of was right in front of him. He immediately became interested. "Let's talk about this later." "Let's talk about it later. It's a long story." "Okay, let's talk about it over dinner. I have something to do in the afternoon. I have to rush back to the base at 8 p.m. You can get back to the regiment in a few hours, but I have to wait until tomorrow." Regiment Commander Lu rushed over from Fujian town. After the meeting, he had to accompany Commander-in-Chief Xia to the automobile training base to take a look. Then, he had to catch the train back to the city at 6 p.m. It would take him another 6 hours to get back to Fujian town. The two of them couldn't always talk to each other, so they ended the conversation after a few words. Southern Province is the first province to implement military training in secondary schools. This provides valuable experience for the provinces that need to include military training next year. All the troops that hold the military training will write a summary report after the end of the training for the provinces to refer to. It was already noon. With the end of Commander-in-Chief Xia's meeting, the whole meeting finally came to an end with applause. Green figures with golden epaulets representing military ranks walked out of the venue in an orderly manner. Their military might was so heavy that it was suffocating. Walking at the front was naturally Commander-in-Chief Xia. Although the meeting had ended, the task of understanding the affairs of the various troops and regiments was not over yet. The provincial military leaders who accompanied him were dressed in casual clothes and did not feel hot walking under the scorching sun. All of their attention was focused on the conversation with the Commander-in-Chief. Their expressions were serious as they answered his questions carefully. Commander-in-Chief Xia, as a general of the army, was the highest military rank in the army and also the highest military rank in the entire army. In the face of this chief with the highest military rank in the entire army, no one dared to take him lightly. No one dared to have the slightest intention of fooling him. They walked so fast that their shirts were soaked in sweat. Regiment Commander Lu, who wanted to say a few words to Regiment Commander Gua of the Anti-Chemical Regiment, was stopped by his colleagues. As for Regiment Commander Gua, he was even more busy. He was dragged to Commander-in-Chief Xia for questioning. Chapter 636. Only now did Commander Gua know who the provincial military had informed him a few days ago that there would be a chief from the capital visiting the military training on the day of their regiment's military training. It turned out that it was Commander-in-Chief Xia, who was so powerful that no one dared to look at him directly. There's no need to be extravagant tomorrow. The southern province is the first military training place in the country. The higher-ups attach great importance to it, so they sent me here to take a look. What about you guys? If you have any requests or difficulties, feel free to tell us. Only by telling us can we know how to perfect your requests and solve your difficulties. Commander-in-Chief Xia had a dignified manner in front of the soldiers. Every word he said was powerful and had a deterrence that directly struck the hearts of the soldiers. Even if you didn't bring a pen and ink, you could still remember every word he said in your heart. Regiment Commander Guo was a lieutenant colonel. There were countless regiment commanders and lieutenant colonels in the country, and he was not a military officer stationed in the capital. It would be a lie if he said that he was not nervous when meeting Commander-in-Chief Xia for the first time. Hearing this, he immediately said, "At present, there are no difficulties that the military region needs to solve. Although there are some small problems during the military training, they can be solved in time. The cooperation between the school and the army is also good. During these few days of military training, the potential of the students can be seen even more clearly. This completely proves that implementing the military training system in each school is a very correct policy. There are many small bad habits of the students that can be solved in a few days of military training, but there are also some very stubborn students. This is a problem of family education. Even if they are sent to the army, they can't change their bad habits." He was talking about Luo Ran. This kid even dared to scold his soldiers. How could he not teach him a lesson? Commander-in-Chief Xia understood the implication of his words. After a moment of silence, he nodded and said, "What you said is indeed a problem. There are many people who rely on their family's connections in the army to send their children to the army. They hope that the army can correct their children's mistakes. As for some cadres, as long as it doesn't affect their promotion, they turn a blind eye. They invite some trouble back. Not only is it a waste of military funds, but it also seriously infringes on the rights of taxpayers. Every student's military training results must be recorded. Their words, actions, and character must all be recorded in detail to serve as a reference for future local conscription. You have to give those naughty students a chance as well. You have to remember those stubborn students. Don't let them rely on their connections to make a living in the army. If someone with a keen understanding of military affairs heard this, they would know that this was the first step in rectifying the unhealthy atmosphere in the army. The reorganization of the entire army was not a small matter. The water involved was too deep. If one was not careful, the ship could capsize. As the helmsman, he had to stabilize the rudder and steadily sail the ship to the port. Regiment Commander Guo was not that sharp. He only knew that the other meaning of the military training was as he and the political commissar had guessed. He felt relieved as if a weight had been lifted from his heart. "Commander-in-Chief, I would like to follow Regiment Commander Guo to the anti-chemical regiment to take a look. Is that okay?" Commander-in-Chief Xia didn't know when a major came to his right hand. He didn't know about his existence until he spoke. Regiment Commander Guo couldn't help but take a second look. He saw some clues. This major's expression was similar to Commander-in-Chief Xia's. When he pursed his lips, there was a murderous aura that even he didn't have. Chapter 637. If he hadn't opened his mouth, he wouldn't have noticed. It was so silent that even with so many people present, no one noticed this major. Commander-in-Chief Xia glanced at him and said to Commander Guo, "The Southern Province's Chemical Defense Regiment is a role model for all the troops. He's here to learn from you for a few days." The Snowfield Brigade was weak in chemical defense. Now that there were more and more missions abroad, they had sent several of their corps members to learn from the Chemical Defense Regiment. The Southern Province's Chemical Defense Regiment was one of the strongest in the military. Xia Jinyuan, who was supposed to go to the Lindong military region, changed places with his comrades and went to the Southern Province's Chemical Defense Regiment. The reason was simple. Yi Qian was in the Southern Province. Moreover, she was going to be training in the Chemical Defense Regiment. His decision to change places at the last minute was a wise one. There was no reason for Commander Guo not to agree. Moreover, their regiment was supposed to send elites to the military region. If they stayed, they would become members of the nation's first chemical defense anti-terrorism special forces. Now that even Commander-in-Chief Xia thought highly of his regiment, it was an honor for the soldiers. A reorganization of the entire army was unknowingly unfolding in the dark. As students, how would they know that every word they said during military training had such great significance? At this moment, all of them woke up from their afternoon naps. Their legs were so sore that they didn't want to move at all. But how could they do that? The whistle blew and all the students of Grade 2 Class 1 stood at attention. Seeing their high morale, they had to stand up even if they didn't want to. Fortunately, there were only 5 kilometers left. They just had to endure it and endure it for a while. 5 kilometers could be covered by walking normally for about an hour, but for the students who had been marching for hours, it took even longer. Even when the boys were starting to complain about being tired, Yiqian walked at a brisk pace. She even helped the girls in her class from time to time. Even so, no one saw her fall behind. When they looked up, they could always see her as straight as the instructor walking at the front. Ying looked at the figure that made the instructor smile. The jealousy in her heart was like thousands of ants gnawing at her internal organs. She was now a shining point of light wherever she went. Wherever he went, he would be envied and worshipped. It shouldn't be like this. An orphan, a thing with nothing, should live a lowly life. He should live in Yi Ying's halo forever and do things according to her whims. She thought of the past. Yiqian ate, wore, and used things that Shi Ying did not want. Even if it was a small toothbrush, it was something that she had used before. But now, everything had changed. As long as Yiqian was around, the halo would always be on her, and she had become a supporting character. She could only look at her, and even be deeply hurt by the halo on her. Everyone only saw the current Yiqian, but they did not know what she was like in the past. Lowly, cowardly, incompetent. The Yiqian of the past was this unbearable. Why didn't anyone believe in him? But why should I believe in Yiqian, who used to be so despicable? She was still smiling. She didn't know what she said, but the instructor actually gave her a thumbs up. Ying only felt that her body was falling rapidly, as if she was falling into a bottomless abyss. No, I can't admit defeat. How can I admit defeat? Absolutely not. And I can't lose to a wretched girl. Chapter 638. Wang Rui, did you notice that the instructor treats Yiqian differently? He even gave her a thumbs up. Also, I noticed that the instructor is quite handsome too. He looks like the type that Yiqian likes. The jealousy in Yi Ying's heart turned into soft words. Ying said to the girl supporting her, "It looks like they're a good match." There was a shrill voice in his heart that was telling him that he must do something, that he must do something. How could she let her be in the limelight? How could she continue to be in the limelight? Wang Rui was the class life committee member. The class committee took turns taking care of Yi Ying, who had a heart condition, and the girls with weaker physiques. She was so tired that she didn't even have the energy to talk. How could she have noticed if the instructor gave Yiqian a thumbs up? Hearing this, she said weakly, "Yiqian is already very outstanding. It's normal for her to be praised by the instructor. Okay, if you have the energy to talk, can you walk by yourself? I really don't have the energy to support you. I want to change people, change people." This Ying is really... I don't know what to say about her. She said that the instructor is Yiqian's type. How did you know? Wang Rui didn't say anything. Instead, she called for a change and called the class leader, Lu Exin, over. Class leader, take over. I want to rest. I strongly request to rest. Wang Rui wasn't a talkative girl. She didn't like to gossip. In addition, Yiqian often tutored her. The scales in her heart were obviously biased towards Yiqian. After handing Yi Ying over to the class leader, she immediately rushed to the front. She didn't want to stay for even a second. Yi Ying was so angry that she almost fell over. What's wrong with Wang Rui? Didn't you say she didn't have the energy? Why does it look like she still has some energy? She runs pretty fast. Lu Xian supported Yi Ying's arm with both hands. He couldn't help but laugh when he saw Wang Rui rushing to the front. She must be trying to grab the target. She hasn't even seen a gun before. Don't even have the energy to shoot. He didn't even see Yi Ying's darkened face. He started talking to himself, then shut up after he finished. Yi Ying had no choice but to endure it. She couldn't say that the vice class leader liked the instructor in front of the class leader, right? Although LVXN was a boy, he had been crawling and running for more than 10 kilometers. After all, he was still a student, so he was tired. After helping Yi Ying walk a few hundred meters, he smiled and said, "I say, Yi Ying, it's better if you don't participate in these kinds of group activities that your body can't take. You said you don't want to be a burden to the class, but think about it. Every few hundred meters or 1 kilometer, the class has to send a student to help you walk. This is already a burden to the class. Didn't you say yesterday that Yi Qian's last-minute addition would affect the class's military training score? Actually, you're the same today. You had nothing to do with it, but you insisted on joining. Not only did you tire yourself out, but you also made us, the class committee, very tired. If you want to challenge yourself, you have to take your body into consideration. Heart disease was a disease of the rich. It could only be recuperated. How could it be tormented for more than 10 kilometers? Why is your face so ugly? Do you want to take a break? LVXIN said with a smile. He saw that her face was a bit pale, so he stopped walking and planned to help her to the side of the road to sit down. Ying, who wasn't sick, gritted her teeth and revealed a bitter smile. I'm sorry, class leader. I didn't think I would be so useless. I can't even walk more than 10 kilometers. You're right. People should do their best in everything they do. I've really put you all through a lot this time. Chapter 639. It's good that you understand. Are you sure you don't want to rest? Can you still continue walking? Lu Xen asked worriedly. You have to tell us if you're not feeling well. The instructor told us to take care of you. Patient? She wasn't sick at all. She wasn't sick. Yi Ying, who was roaring in her heart, suddenly felt like she had shot herself in the foot. She had grown up in the village since she was a child. If it weren't for this heart disease, would she have to pretend to be sick every day? Now, she wanted to show off during the military training, to let the instructor and her classmates know that she, Ying, was actually very capable. But in the end, she couldn't show off because of her heart disease. Yi Ying was unwilling to give up. The last 5 kilometers were getting shorter and shorter. Following the instructor's shout, the students at the front began to sprint towards the assembly point. There were arrow signs along the way, indicating where to go. Yi Qian said to the instructor, "Then I'll go first. I'll wait for my classmates at the assembly point." Okay, remember to plant the victory flag in our camp. The instructor was obviously happy that his students were the first to reach the assembly point. He laughed at Yi Qian and said, "Wait for me to bring them back." He was telling his comrades that he would definitely return victorious. Yi Qian naturally reached out and high-fived the instructor. Good luck. Keep it up. Such a handsome and soldierly action didn't seem out of place when Yi Qian did it. The instructor watched as Yi Qian took large strides and gradually broke into a jog. In a short while, he had shaken off a few boys. After turning a corner, the instructor could no longer see Yi Qian's figure. Students of Grade 2, Class 1, do your best. Your comrade Yi Qian is already sprinting. Are there any men who dare to compete with Yi Qian? Yi Qian being the first to sprint undoubtedly raised the morale of the entire class. Countless voices shouted in response, "Go, Grade 2, Class 1, do your best. Strive to be the best, don't fall behind. Go!" With the first to sprint, there was a second to sprint. Not only the students of Grade 2 Class 1, but the other Grade 2 classes and the boys of Grade 3 Class 3 also started to jog and sprint from behind. The instructor said that Yi Qian rushed to the front again. Damn, if she gets first place again, all of us boys will have no face. There's nothing you can do about it even if you're shameless. You're good at everything. Yangheng, you can do it. Now it's up to you to make our class proud. Those who specialize in sports, are you guys hungry? Can you run a little faster? Zhang Bin, do your best. come on Zhangbin. We think highly of you. When Lu Exine saw that the students who weren't from his class had started to run while he, as the class monitor, was still dawdling, he couldn't help but feel anxious. Damn, they're all running. I have to run too. Ying watched helplessly as her classmates were led away by Yi Qian. All of them were willing to follow her example. As the blood in her chest churned, she heard Lu Exine say, Ying, I have to sprint too. You don't have to sprint. Rest as you walk and wait for the container truck to pick you up. After saying that, he immediately found a place to sit down and rest. Sit here, sit here. Take the water bottle and essential balm. Don't wander around. Even though the instructor is secretly protecting us, we can't keep causing trouble for them, right? Welcome to Immortal Cultivation audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.